Honest, we are. Ask the Podcast Coach for December 6th, 2025.
Let's get ready to podcast.
There it is. It's that music that means it is Saturday morning. It is time for Ask the Podcast Coach, where you get your podcast questions answered live. I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com, and joining me right over there is not Jim Cullison. Jim is out on special assignment, but the one and only Chris Stone from castahead.net. Chris, how's it going, buddy?
Good morning and happy holidays, Dave Jackson.
It is.
Look at the festive vibes that you've got going on. Boy, I tell you what, it is. Now we can finally walk into a store and be okay with hearing holiday music, right? I think it was too soon, November 1st.
Yes.
But now it feels like it's okay.
But I also want to recount on the when we elected Mariah Carey, Queen of Christmas. I'm like, I didn't get my ballot. I know. So, and every time I hear that song,
as a former Sony employee, I and having to work that every holiday season, I was very much okay because she's made a few car payments for me.
Yeah.
So this is one for the chat. We're going to start early. So we're talking about Christmas music. Your least favorite holiday song is either Mariah Carey, "All I Want for Christmas Is You," which Dave just talked about, right? Or "Last Christmas" by Wham.
Ooh. Can I throw in a
Which is worse for you? Oh yeah, let's do it. Bonus.
Marshmallow World by Johnny Mathis.
Oh my God, that's a deep track right there.
It's a deep track. We're going back into my childhood, but it makes no sense. It's a whipped cream day in winter. It's a marshmallow world. The world is your snowball. Look how it goes whenever it snows. The world is your. Come on, let's move. Okay. Anyway, meanwhile, but when you're cold, you know what makes you get that snow off you. You are good to go. That's right. A good old piping hot cup of Java. And that particular coffee pour is brought to you by our good friend Mark over at podcastbranding.co, because they're going to see you before they hear you. And Mark has done many a piece of artwork for me. And the beautiful thing about Mark is not only is he a great graphic artist, but he's also a podcaster. And he could be a podcast. He does a podcast. Resourceful Designer is his show, but he's also a podcaster, and he's been doing this forever. He's hundreds, if not thousands, of artwork. And hey, if you're like, artwork, I need a website. Well, he can do that. And you're like, well, I'm working on this PDF. Yeah, he can do that. Well, I'm working on some slides for a present. He can do that. It's all there, podcastbranding.co, and you're going to get one-on-one service that you're not going to get from some guy on Fiverr, and he's just an amazing guy. And if you need more, he's Canadian, which means that's right. He's going to be polite. So when there's only one place to go, my choice is always podcastbranding.co.
You know what, Dave? I bet if him being Canadian, his favorite holiday song would be the Geddy Lee track from Strange Brew with Bob and Doug McKenzie.
That's it.
Is that bringing back some memories?
It is, you hoser.
Yeah, it is, eh?
It's also, today is brought to you by Dan over at Based on a True Story podcast. You sit down, you've got your popcorn, you've got your beverage of choice. The screen goes black, white letters appear that say Based on a True Story. And you're like, oh, suddenly the movie got more entertaining and more interesting. And if you've ever wondered, like, how much of this, when they say based, are we talking like 10%, 20%, like 0%? What is it? Well, you can get that answered by going over to basedonatruestorypodcast.com. Dan, thank you for your patronage, and we appreciate that. And we're getting more nominations. 12 Redneck Days of Christmas by Jeff Foxworthy. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. There's one
that's a good one.
That was
all right. I mean, by a good one, I mean like a good bad one.
Yes, that's right. These are a few of my favorite things. Not even a Christmas song. Yes. Raindrops on roses and
that's true. Like, how did that become? Well, the John Coltrane version is that's a great track. But yeah, that's not a holiday song, is it?
It was Julie Andrews and The Sound of Music, maybe.
Right. But that
yeah.
still doesn't make it a holiday. Like, yeah,
No.
I agree with Jeff on that one.
Yeah. We do have a question from the one and only Ralph from contentcreatorsaccountant.com. He says, I seem to have jacked up my Rodecaster Duo settings for my Shure SM7B. I think I have this turned on that are not right. What does the P48 mean, and how can I get this sounding better? With all microphones, start by I would put, depends, I guess, on, if I go back to the days of a mixer, I would turn the mixer up to 0. Usually there was a line, like put this here, and then I would turn the gain until the little yellow and green lights blink, and maybe, just maybe occasionally go into the red. So that's the first thing. Get your gain set right, and then from there, that would also include, because as I look down, I'm really not close enough to my mic. So get your mic placement right, get your volume set, and then from there you tweak the bass and the trebles and all that other stuff. The P48, I'm going to guess
that's phantom power.
Phantom.
So Ralph, you've turned on your phantom power on your Rodecaster Duo, and if you do not have a cloud lifter in your chain, you should not have phantom power on. It's a dynamic mic, not a condenser mic. Does not use phantom power. The Rodecaster Duo and the Rodecaster Pro, they both do have great preamps in them, so they have enough gain for your SM7B. But I always suggest, if you have an SM7B, to get a cloud lifter, CL1, or some sort of gain lifter, because that's just like a good fuel injector for that microphone. It takes all that stress off of the preamps in your mixer, in this case, the Rodecaster Duo, and then you don't get all of that preamp noise that you get. It's 99.7% of people probably aren't going to notice it, especially on a show like this. But like, I've got a cloud lifter in the chain for my RE20 currently. I also use one for my SM7B, and it's just going to allow you to, like Dave's talking about, the gain staging is, you turn your preamp gain down, like bring it down, turn on your, if you've got a cloud lifter in your chain, turn on your phantom power, because that activates the cloud lifter, and then bring your gain up to between -6 and -12 dBs, or what Dave's talking about, in the yellow. Never get it in the red. So I'm guessing, Ralph, you've plugged your SM7B directly into your Duo without a cloud lifter. You turn on the phantom power. If you turn off the phantom power and then do the gain staging like Dave's talking about, you're going to get your levels, proper.
Yeah, and then the other thing I always did, EQ can go a long way. EQ is like salt, right? A little is good, a lot, and all of a sudden you ruined it. And so I remember when I first had a DBX 286, which had kind of what is in the Rodecaster now. You've got a big bottom and sibilants and compressors and noise gates and all this stuff. And of course you hear it and you just want to crank the bass because you sound like your favorite DJ from the days of FM. And, and I had somebody email me, they're like, I don't know what toy you got, but you're rattling the tonsils out of my teeth. So like, if you can back down on some of that. And it was, you just usually need just a little bit. And so what you can do in terms of tuning it is just hit record and go in and say, okay, I'm turning the bass boost up to, and just say your recordings, whatever they are, as you're doing it. And then as you're listening back to it, go, well, I liked it when I was here. Well, then you can hear what your settings were because you said what they were, and then vote with your ears. And it's funny because when I go back and listen to things from, 5-10 years ago, or even worse, 20, you're just like, wait, your voice changes. That's a weird one. My voice is deeper than it. I used to be up here. Hey, welcome to the school. It's like, okay.
Right. And last year I went through puberty. It was a real thing.
That's it. And we're welcome to the school of podcasting.
Welcome to the Peter Brady podcast.
And so in the end, my guess is you probably sound fine. I know a lot of people obsess over their sound, and it's just like, no, you know what? You're good. It's okay. You're good. I
love that you said that, Dave, because like I never really thought about that. And I know you mentioned this on School of Podcasting on the lunch with Dave, I caught the replay of that, even though I wasn't able to attend, to record yourself, but also record yourself and change your settings and tell yourself what you're doing. Like, this is me when I'm amping up the 200 hertz level of my EQ. This is me with light compression. This is me with heavier compression, or all those things that you're doing. And you want to listen back and you're like, okay, I like this. But the other thing that I always encourage, the people that I try to surround myself with, or my clients or whatever, is like, take the recording that you really like of yourself, and let people that you trust will tell you things, not the things you want to hear, right? Don't give it to your significant other, your best friend, and say, what do you think? Because they're gonna try to prop you up, and they're gonna say, oh man, it sounds great, and it might not, right? And so that's why School of Podcasting is really great. It's like somebody will say, hey, your level's way too low. I don't, if I'm getting, and it doesn't feel great when people give you that kind of feedback at first, right? Because it's like, ooh, they're telling me my baby's ugly a little bit, but everybody means well. Like, we only want you to sound the best, and put it in front of people, survey your audience, like all of that, your key listener, like, hey, what do you think this sounds like? Tell me the truth. Don't tell me, and then be ready to receive it and act on it. And I think a lot of times that's what we got to do in order to get our audio proper.
Well, I can never figure out why someone would have an RE20 and then switch to an SM7B, and then they'd switch to whatever, and then they'd switch to, until I was in Florida, and they're like, hey, get up and play the guitar. And I'm like, okay. And I get up there, and I absolutely hate the sound of this guitar. And the fact that it was weird because there was no amp on stage. I had to wait for it to come out of the main PA systems, bounce off the back wall to get to my ears. Yeah, so it was one of those where you're playing really safe because I can't hear a thing I'm playing, but it really affected how I played because I hated the way the guitar sounded. And that's when I went, people switch microphones because they don't like the way they sound. Like, it could sound great to me. I'm like, it sounds good, but if you're not, that's why I think the reason in the Shure, I think it's MV7, has little software that you can tweak stuff with. I like the Rode because I can tweak the sound. Now, this is going through a Rodecaster, but even if I didn't have a Rodecaster, the Rode Podmic USB has that, and the mic that Chris is holding up there, is that the MV7?
Well, this is So this is the MV7i, but it's the same. It's basically an MV7 Plus. The only difference between this mic and the MV7 Plus is, cue the Hallelujah chorus. It has an interface built into it.
Nice. Yeah. See, that's XLR and USB. That's to me,
so it's a combo, right? So if Dave wants to plug in his guitar, he can take his 1/4-inch cable and plug in his guitar, right?
Interesting.
If you're doing a podcast with another person and they're in the same room, you can also plug in an XLR cable, a mic cable, and you can have a conversation back and forth and adjust the software so there's no mic bleed between the two. This is like, I have no idea why people their minds aren't blown like mine every time. Not only does it sound amazing, but like, dude, it's got an interface in it. Yeah, a mic.
Yeah, and Jody makes a great point. What your voice sounds like coming from inside your head and what it sounds like recorded, which is more true, are totally different. And then there we go. Yeah, speaking of the one and only Jody Kringle from, yes, I drank hot cocoa out of mine last night. It's sitting in my sink. So there
Unfortunately,
you go.
Dave, when I drink out of the audio branding podcast from Jody Kringle, I was hoping that my voice would sound as buttery smooth in my ears as Jody's voice does, but unfortunately, it's still me talking.
Yeah, it's buttery smooth is a good explanation. It is. She's like butter for your ears. Amazing. And what's great is now we get to say the phrase bone conduction, which I still say is a great name for a band. Ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, bone conduction. And it's when you talk, and if you don't believe me, just talk and put your fingers on your forehead and you will feel it vibrating. And because you actually listen partially through your skull, which sounds weird, but it's the subwoofer of your listening system. And so when you hear yourself through just speakers, somebody unplugged the woofer, and that's what my ex-wife could not get over how she sounded. She's like, is that what I really sound like? And I go, yeah. She's like, oh my God, I hate my voice. And I go, that's normal. And she's like, no, it's shrill. And I'm like, well, we can add some EQ and stuff like that to it. So, it's just one of those things that I know some people that they can't get it. Like, that's what I sound like. And I'm like, look, have you ever been on a phone call? You're having a great conversation and somebody just hangs up and they're like, no. And I go, exactly. Your voice is fine. I go, don't.
Right. Yeah. People are horrified when they hear their voice for the same reason. Right. But it's like, that's you. So like if you're,
Right.
And when you meet someone when I met Jody Krangle in person at Podfest, it's the same. She sounds awesome, right? And
Yeah.
when you hear her do voiceover work and you listen to the audio branding podcast, but like when you talk to her, that's her voice. And what would be really weird is if I met her and I was like, boy, you don't sound anything like what I've been listening to for years.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's why you kind of want to be yourself on the mic. Because I remember once I had a client, and when he recorded stuff, it was like somebody flipped a switch. Now, granted, you might want to have a little more energy, but he was like a completely different person. And I actually said, like, why are you doing that? And he's like, doing what? And I'm like you like, wow. He's like, oh, that's what I do when I turn on the mic. And I was like, okay. And I was like, but what's going to happen when somebody meets you in person and you're way down here? It's like, that's so, I guess if you never meet your audience, it's not a big deal. But it was like jarring. I was like, well, what are you doing? So, Randy says the Rode Pod mic and Pod mic USB. Yeah, I like the Pod mic USB. I do not like the Rode Pod mic, although I do have it by my bed to be used as a weapon. It's just, it's really, really mid-heavy. And even though it's got this really cool metal windscreen, this thing pops like nobody. Like you have to be really lots of mic technique to
it's
do
XLR
that.
only, right?
And it's XLR only. Yeah, I'm a big fan of XLR USB. Just to have that, like, oh crap, all I have is my laptop. That's all right. You're good. Yeah. You don't have to like, oh, I forgot the whatever, the Rodecaster or the company that makes all the red stuff. Not Evernote. Focusrite. There we go.
And the other thing too with that mic, I believe, and even some of the Shure mics, at least the SM7B, is that they have like a one or the other. Like you can roll off the low end with a switch or mid boost with a switch. I've always felt like, anytime you have like a one or the other selection, it's like I would love it to be like, can I attenuate it instead of just like either get the boost or you don't. I want it, to your point earlier with the EQ. Let me just kind of like, it's somewhere in between, maybe
just tweak it.
Just the like, let me just roll off the low end. Well, now I sound like I'm in a tin can, so I'm just going to keep the low end and then I'm going to attenuate it in my mixer or my that drives me nuts when they do that on microphones where you have a switch on or off. It's just like, let's keep it flat and then I'll work with it. Later.
Randy points out too that you can save your settings because you basically have almost like a one channel Rodecaster when you do the same thing with the Shure microphone. They have software, and when you save your settings, it saves it in the microphone. So that if you go to a different computer, you don't have to re-EQ everything. Boomer
it's
Bob.
Big for people. It's big for people that work at a job and you've got a computer and the company you work for says no third-party software on this computer. You set up your mic on your personal computer and then you can plug in that microphone on your work computer and you don't have to worry about downloading the software.
Well, and speaking of plugging things in, Boomer Bob wants to know, can you use the 1/4-inch input and still use it as a mic at the same time? Yeah, that's the fun part. So you plug your guitar in to the thing, and then you plug the microphone into your computer. You're talking to the microphone, and then I'm assuming they probably have software to let you adjust so your guitar's not overpowering or whatever you got plugged into it. So
that's exactly right. So you can, I could pull up Motive Mix and we can jam if you want to, Dave. No, but, you can. So you can plug in any microphone into the back of it. You can plug in a condenser microphone from whomever, turn on Phantom Power in the software, and that will turn on Phantom Power with that mic. You can plug in a guitar, a keyboard, whatever whatever is utilizing that 1/4-inch cable, and then adjust your mix, and it's recording them separately as well. So I know obviously for podcasters, all the smart podcast people here in the chat, it's like separate tracks or nothing, right? If you're getting one track where everything's baked in, you're just like, now I've got to pull it into Auphonic or use plugins to separate voices. You're recording separate tracks in the Shure Motive Mix while you're doing something like this.
Nice. And then Jody asks, why is the pod mic used as a weapon? It's very dense. It's one of those like, hey, you talking to me? If I hit somebody in the head with this thing, they'd be gone. So I don't know what it weighs. Probably like 5 pounds. I mean, I should be curling this during the show to, build up.
That's a good call. That's a good call.
It's just the right size, but there's no plastic on this thing. I don't think anywhere. So it's one of those like, if I threw this at your head, it would be.
Thank God we're virtual, man.
That's right. That's why you never. By the way, that's why you never argue standing up. It's way too easy to grab something and get your feet planted and just That's
where are we at with the Mariah Carey versus Wham argument?
I don't know.
I have a feeling it's Mariah's the worst, right? Everyone's sort of over it.
I think that is the example of just. What is it? It's oversaturation. It just because first of all, they start playing it. It's like Christmas is here. Here's Mariah. So by the time Christmas is here, you've heard, and the minute I hear the da 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 on the piano on the radio, I'm like, no. It's just I've just heard it. If we go back, we were, Chris and I love to get our 80s on. I once drove to Georgia. And so that's like, I forget how many hours in the car, but we heard the song Round and Round by Rat no less than 17 times. And we were just, by the end of the thing, we're like, you'd hear capo, and that's all you needed to no, before they even hit the first. So there is such a thing as too much. So Boomer Bob says, I've never plugged a mic into another mic. Yeah, they have Shure has a whole bunch of stuff where you can, if you're a minimalist, you can have one mic plug into the other mic, and then that's the interface. It's actually pretty cool. They do some really cool stuff.
I have all kinds of toys. The other one I was going to show is the MVX2U, which is another way if you want, from a minimalist perspective, here it is. It's toy time with Chris. Like Jim has, get your nerd on. I'm going to, get your gear on. There you go. So this is a Shure MVX2U. Oh. And so, no, it's not a cigarette lighter adapter. You're not going to be able to light any stogies with this. But this is an interface. And so, you plug this puppy into your computer, and you could take any microphone, and I'm going to grab my trusty Shure. You want to talk about?
Oh, yeah,
Dave. The SM58, also a great podcast mic, underrated as a podcast mic. But basically now I am. Let me just get this right. Why do we always? It's like plugging in a USB wrong way first.
Yeah.
So now you've into your computer. So this is great for throwing into your bag, taking it on the road. You can turn on Phantom Power with the software. You can mute it on the device. And so, I mean, how awesome is that for an interface? So from a minimalist perspective, this is what I've recommended to clients as well that just want to keep things like super clean and simple. You can also plug this into your SM7B. And right at the the point of the mic, and come out with a USB cable into your computer. So pretty cool.
There you go. Yeah. Stephanie says, listen, don't mess with Mariah. So we might be hitting a nerve.
Well, Mariah can, there's all kinds of stories about Mariah.
Yeah. For me, Mariah, if you want to see something amazing, go to YouTube, Google Mariah Carey vanishing SNL rehearsal. And this is my favorite Mariah and a piano. and some backup singers. No dancing, no Mariah painted into a dress. It's her in jeans and a shirt. She's amazing. She does the dolphin whistle, and it's just oh, you can't do the dolphin whistle?
No.
See, I don't mind it when
when
it's not overused, but she's just sitting there and all of a sudden, and it's just her, and they're just having fun. And I was like, I miss that Mariah. Vanishing.
Yeah.
There were a couple other songs off her first CD, but when she started getting to when the diva came out, when she started getting painted into dresses to where she could move, and then she just sits there and does this with her hand and just moves. Yeah, I'm like, that's where I'm like, next.
She doesn't get here without talent.
No, she got here. Yeah. She got here by Tommy Mottola being her husband, maybe. But that didn't hurt. But she is very talented. Not to not. I mean, however, she's got like an 18 octave range or something. It's ridiculous. Here's a fun question from Stephanie. She says, "What kind of fun merch have y'all done for your podcast? I should get some nosy AF mugs made." I have failed miserably with all merch. I have. It's one of those things where it's your brand. So I forget it. I don't want to say Teespring, but it's Teespring-ish. Most of those like, hey, you can make one of a kind. This shirt lasts maybe 6 washings before it starts kind of like not looking great. I need to ask Alex from Podmatch, because my Podmatch t-shirt, super soft. It's just like, it's like wearing a hug. And and then he's got his logo on it, but it's not one of those logos that's so thick that like the shirt won't bend and it's uncomfortable and it's itchy. I need to find out where he got those, because it's that. But the only time I've ever seen when I interviewed people for my book about monetization, the strategies that worked were, one, it had to be limited time only. And if you remember back in the days before streaming, out of the Disney vault, we're bringing back, Snow White, for a limited time only, get this classic. And it would be like, if you didn't buy it, you kind of had to really look to get it or whatever. So limited time. And then if it's something, it's weird because it usually doesn't work that well as a marketing tool because it's an inside joke. It's something that when you put it on, other people that listen or watch your show will go, "Oh, dude, I love that show." But the person that doesn't isn't going to get it. My favorite was, there was a lesbian podcast, and somebody left them a 1-star review that said stupid, and then it was a slur. And they took that screenshot and put it on a t-shirt. And it was like, "Yep, I'm a stupid blank too." But for the most part, it's one of those things you have to think again that your diehard audience, and 3% of them are going to maybe buy it. And so you end up putting it up there and you're like, "Oh, wow, we sold 2 shirts." And you're like, "Yep, and that's about all you're I don't know. Have you had any success with merch or any of your clients, Chris?
I think, So generally, I always go for the print on demand option. So, and there's a bunch of them out there. And whether it's Sticker Mule or Printful, or which Fourth Wall is another one. And so, and I'm like you, Dave. It's like, if anybody can kind of like make a t-shirt for you for $14 and you could have it shipped, and Sticker Mule does that. But like, you want to try to test them out and see, is this a shirt that I like or that my audience would like? Or is this something that somebody would wear? And most of the time it isn't something that is your logo. Like, right, we're on the Ask the Podcast Coach right now, right?
Right.
So if you make an Ask the Podcast Coach t-shirt, would somebody really want to buy that? So instead you'd make a shirt that said, "Now it's time for a power rant," or you'd make a shirt that says, "Time to get my nerd on," with a little caricature of Jim Collison or something like that. Like, so then people are like, "Well, I love the power rant," or "I love when Jim gets his nerd on," because we're all fans of the show and we all understand that. So this kind of falls into ask your audience, right? Ask the people who are your sort of super fans, and ask them what their favorite parts of the show are. And that can generate some ideas to create merch. Like, I know Jeff asked what we've done for Dealcasters. We, we'll put, our phrase is, "Don't fear the gear." So but will someone really want to buy that? Like, what is that? Like somebody wants to say, this is me, right? When they put a shirt on, like this, I identify with whatever this is saying because I'm a fan of the show and they say this kind of stuff. So you have to kind of think, what's the sort of marketing phrase? What attracts people? What are my listeners? What do they like? And the only real way to do that is to ask them. So, get on your Podpage, create a survey, and, or on your community YouTube thing. So ask these people, what your favorite part of the show is, and something will flow it out of the ether and go, oh my gosh, like everyone likes this particular phrase. Yeah. I'm going to have a hat that says that. And then when you get these print on demand things, you're not, you don't have a closet full of extra medium t-shirts, right? You're only getting, what is printed and sent. And then a nice problem to have is, oh gosh, I need to print a bunch of these and take them on the road with me because people are buying them when I show up. Print on demand, like, does everything for you. Like, they're shipping it for you. They're doing all of that stuff for you. You don't make as much money initially. So it's not a real profit center for you. It's definitely more of a cost center marketing thing for you at first. And I think if you treat it like that, especially initially, and then just kind of see how it works and what resonates. And then once you test through all that stuff without the risk of all of the money making the merch, then you can kind of say, all right, I'm printing up a bunch of these. And because we're going here and people like to buy them.
Yeah. The Morning Zoo people in Cleveland, I tune in every day. Where I talk about, people listen because they make you laugh, cry, think, groan. That's a groan listen. This week they did a whole section on, they made it a game and you would spin the wheel. They had a barber there and who could get the weirdest haircut or whatever. So like one guy ended up getting a John Hughes mustache, so it's super thin, because there's nothing better to listen to on the radio than somebody going, first you're hearing this, they've got to, it's like, okay, and now Jim is gonna, oh, look at that. It's great. I'm like, that's not really great. I'm watching it, but I'm like,
I don't know what that was, Dave.
That is a nose trimmer. You've never seen a nose trimmer? Oh, they're great fun.
Not when someone's in their, podcast.
Yeah. Here's it's got a little, I don't know what this does, but it goes in there and grabs the hair and rips it out of your nose and makes you cry.
Today's show sponsored by
by
Gillette nose trimmer.
Philips Norelco, the Series 3000. Yes. Stephanie says, I've also had mouse pads and tote bags that I personally take around with me so other people see my branding. Yeah. Mic flags are good if you're going to be doing interviews in an event. And a lot of times you can make those. People are mentioning Zazzle, which sounds like something I would name my cat. You know what I mean? And here's, so-and-so and Zazzle.
Wasn't that the drummer for Hanoi Rocks that was in the car with Vince Neil? And we're taking it back to, wasn't Zazzle like?
I think so. R.I.P. Zazzle, man. Yeah.
Oh, let's pour one out for Zazzle.
Bonfires, good quality t-shirts and sweatshirts. They're all, and that's one of those, order one for yourself. Now, I started to talk about the Morning Zoo guys because it's hoodie time, according to them. And so what they do is you order the hoodie and then they place the order for the hoodies. Now he's syndicated, but that way you can probably get a better quality at a lower price and that whole 9 yards, as opposed to they buy it now and get it in a week when they do that whole 9 yards. But I was like, what? Because he even said, he goes, well, you only have X amount of days, so limited time, and you have to order your hoodie. And he goes, and then they'll be manufactured and shipped within a week. And I was like, oh, this isn't a one-off order kind of thing. But they only do it, I guess, once a year. So it's a big deal, and they've been promoting it and blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Stephanie says, my podcast is art and culture. If you have any ideas, I might also make them for myself. Yeah. A lot of times, somewhere in here, in this office, I have coasters that say, ask the podcast coach. And if you become an awesome supporter, and Dave can find them, I will ship you a coaster. So it's just one of those things that, Rich Graham says lots of creators use fourth wall. I've got some fourth wall shirts from Podpage. So when I go to an event and I need a Podpage shirt, I will go up there.
I got this desk pad that I have that when I go to my overhead, this thing that says Dealcasters. This is actually a big mouse pad. I ordered that from Fourth Wall. So I sent him this. Obviously, all kinds of AI was used in the making of this image, except for this logo in there. And I had Fourth Wall, and I shipped the one off, and I was like, "This is really cool." So it's available for sale. If somebody wants it, and they'll print it and ship it to anybody. So you can have Fourth Wall's great, and I know that's Rich Graham's jam is the merch. Stuff.
I don't think I do. I'll put a link in the chat room. That is my affiliate link for Fourth Wall. Poor Ralph says, it seems that if I turn off the phantom power, I don't hear myself, which probably means you have some sort of booster in there, because if that requires the power for that. I'm a big fan of the FET head. What was the one you mentioned? The Cloud Lifter. The Cloud Lifter is a box, which means you need another cable. And so the FET head, you just plug it into your mic, and then you just need the one cable then. So I like FET heads a little better. I mean, a Cloud Lifter is a great piece of kit, but you end up with another cable running around your floor. And so the FET head is just kind of like that thing that Chris had earlier, where it looks like a cigarette lighter. So it's but that's part of the deal. I believe in the Rodecaster there's a button that's like reset this channel, and it'll just take you back to, or switch to a different microphone. So if you have an option to, pick the
A/B test it.
RE320, and then go back to your SM7B or whatever setting you had, that should, in theory, reset back to kind of your starting spot, and from there you can go in and start tweaking your plus and minuses and things like that. And I've never heard this. I know what I'm doing when we're done today. Stephanie says, James Brown, Funky Christmas. Because to me, see, in my world, James Brown is the first rapper. Because if you think about it, he would get a group, and then he just, hey, and it didn't matter. So I'm like,
insert,
talking over a groove. I'm like, I think he was the first rapper. And then Todd the Gator says, I think I am more of a Wham guy. George Michael was a very talented. There's another, both those, Mariah and George Michael, very talented singers.
George Michael and Listen Without Prejudice is an outstanding album by George Michael. That song. Listen, here I'm going to tell you one of my least favorite holiday songs of all time.
I bet you're going to say the same one I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Paul McCartney and Wings.
Yes. Oh, I hate it.
Ding, 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 ding. When you hear that, reverberate.
Yeah. And then,
man, when that comes on, and I love me some Paul McCartney, one of my favorite bass players. Obviously,
my favorite Beatle. Yeah,
outstanding. But like when I hear that song, I'm running for the hills, baby.
Yeah, it's a classic in that it's a Paul McCartney. So you do find yourself, even though you hate it, walking around the next 2 hours going, simply having a marvelous Christmas. It's such a melody.
Why did you give me that? Now it's never out of my head. Thanks.
But I hate the weird keyboard sound. It's wheeze, whack, wop, and it's just like, hey, we've got 17 minutes. Let's record a Christmas song. And I'm with you on that. That's not one I'm like, there's another one. Elton John has one that I don't think is great. I'm weird. I'm old school. I want my Christmas music. Sheryl Crow has a very soulful Christmas album that's not bad. But like back in the day, my parents would bring home these Christmas albums. It'd be like Tony Bennett singing Santa Claus Has Come to Town with like a big band. And it's like, and there he is, to town. All right. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. I want, Ray Charles.
I also like the, this is going to be polarizing, I think. Elvis Presley, Blue Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
When the background vocal women come in, they sound like little ghosts. It's like, what is happening? They're like these little ghosts in the background. I'm like, that is the creepiest Christmas song ever. Is Blue
That's
Christmas
up there.
by Elvis.
Yeah. And what I loved about, because I grew up I mean, I was born in 65, but in the 70s, I think this is an Ohio thing. There would be the Firestone Rubber Company would put out Christmas albums with like Sammy Davis Jr. and Doris Day and, all these people. Yeah, it was really, and I thought it was like, I thought everybody had this. And my friend who grew up here is like, holy cow, I'm in Oklahoma. He goes, I found a Firestone Christmas album. He's like, it's huge nostalgia. And I always thought it was interesting when they would get a really famous movie actor like Cary Grant, and then they would have him sing, in quotation marks, a Christmas song. And my favorite was, he said, chin chin, my friend, and here's to you. And when you're like 11 and somebody says chin chin to you, my friend, we giggled for months because we're like, is this a beard thing? Chin?
Right. I don't know what chin chin means.
It's like, hello, my friend, and here's to you.
Okay. I was afraid to Google it for a second.
Yeah.
But you ever done that? Like somebody says, hey, this, and you're like, I don't know what that means.
It means.
I was like, clear your cookies. Yeah.
I just found out when somebody says you were docked, that it means somebody has put up your information, like your address, and because I'm docked. I'm like, as in, what's up, Doc? Like, was this a Bugs Bunny thing? What's going on? I didn't get it. And
I think it means a number of things. So folks, don't Google that.
Yeah, don't Google that. Yeah. Back in the world of Ralph, on the bottom of the mic, there is a switch to bypass the preamp.
Oh, you have a DB. So okay? So there's a difference between the SM7B and the SM7DB. So we figured it out. Yes. So SM7B doesn't have a preamp. That's why we were talking about cloud lifters. The SM7DB has a preamp built into it. You've got to activate the preamp with the switch on the bottom of it. You still need to turn the phantom power on in your Rodecaster Pro. That will activate the preamp that's inside the SM7DB, and then your voice will be almost as buttery smooth as Jody Krankel.
Almost, yes. And of course, Randy figured this out before we did.
We got smart people in the chat, man. This is the smartest chat ever. I feel, yeah. I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room, for sure. In this with these folks. How about this, Dave?
What?
Christmas movie or not Christmas movie?
Okay.
You ready for this?
All right.
I'm going to give you two movies, and I think everybody. This is the most polarizing thing ever. But I'm here to divide the chat, Dave. This is why I'm here. Die Hard. Christmas movie or not Christmas movie? I know Jeff C. has thoughts on this.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Gremlins. Is Gremlins a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie?
It's weird. Gremlins is one of those movies that I saw multiple times in the theater and have not seen since. It came up on Hulu, and I was like, oh, I remember that movie. And so I don't remember it enough besides the cute little gremlin talking thing. Mogwai, yes. So I don't. I only watch Die Hard around Christmas, so by that aspect, it's a Christmas movie. Yeah. And then Randy says, "Nope, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie."
Yeah. So, see, like I think I touched a nerve here.
That's it.
I think this is like people are either yes, it is. Like there is really no in between on this one.
No.
It's how someone defines a Christmas movie. Either the movie is all about the holidays, right? Or, obviously about the birth of Jesus, right? Or Santa or something that is Christmas related. It's inherent in the story, or just does it take place in December in New York City, right? Whether or not that's a Christmas movie. So,
well, there is things you can learn if you watch the Hallmark Channel. I remember once, because my brother and I love to make fun of these movies because it's the same movie. And my cousin was in town for Thanksgiving, and so we're done with the turkey. The football's over. We sit down to watch a holiday movie, and my brother just started picking it apart. And she said, hey, she goes, don't make fun of Christmas movies or Hallmark movies. She's like, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I always feel better when they're over and I can watch it with my kids. She's like, they're all consistent. And I was like, that's a good lesson. You know what I mean? By being that, I do laugh because there's always a death. Somebody has died. Either my mom is dead, my little brother died when I was 6. There's always somebody's dead, so you feel sorry for that person. The two hottest people in the town are single. because that always happens. And if somebody is going to rebuild, if somebody's a builder of some sort or a big company, they're always the bad guy, and you have to save the lodge. And
Down with the man.
And there's always something that somebody sees in Act 2 that will make it back in Act 3. So if it's like, oh, that's the old suit that Grandpa used to wear. I haven't seen that. Well, it's coming back in Scene 3 because, the hot guy that's single is going to put it on. And the hot single woman who hated his guts in Scene 1 will now love him because he's, So you can learn a little bit from movies. I watch them because I find it, my favorite is now, not only is it more or less the same story, it's the same actors. Like there are people that make a living just doing Hallmark movies. So I'm like, wait, you're watching the same actors do the same movie, but now it's called Jingle Christmas Wish, where last year it was called Mistletoe and Molly. Well, that's a whole different kind of Christmas show because Molly is a person's name, but isn't that also a drug? That would make a whole different kind of Hallmark movie.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Everybody's like,
that
man,
would not
look
make
at
Hallmark.
The tree.
That would be on Cinemax. I don't think that would be on Hallmark for sure. Like the Molly.
Well, here's another fun question. This came up on Reddit today, and they said, hey, is podcast guesting dead? I recently listened to an episode of Grow the Show, and Kev mentioned that podcast guesting isn't really a viable marketing strategy anymore because hosts are getting flooded with spammy AI-generated emails. I believe, going to attempt a show on that. I'm going to let the audience pick, but right now, the tentative name is Podcast Pitch Slap as opposed to Bitch Slap, but that's a cute name, not a good name, but yeah. Anyway, going back to the thing, because we do get spammy emails. Are most hosts not even opening guest pitches now? I open them and usually delete them very quickly. Do you still bring guests onto your show to try to guest? Wait, do you still bring guests on your show or try to guest on other podcasts yourself? And do you think the strategy is actually over, or is there any real opportunity if it's done the right way? And I think the key there is if it's done the right way. And for me, everybody now realize Kevin does a show called Grow the Show. So in terms of getting downloads for your show, maybe not as much. And Kevin makes a great point. He goes, look, there was a time when audiograms, when they were new, and we all went, ooh, looky, the line goes blinky, blinky. I must click on that. And that worked for about, I don't know, a couple months. And then guesting kind of took off. We were like, oh, this is cool. And then right now it's all the YouTubes. You got to be on the YouTubes because and that's what Kevin's basically saying. He's like, hey, YouTube is the way to grow your audience now. And I'm like, it's a way to grow an additional audience. But he's saying that guesting isn't as much. And to me, I've never looked at, to me, it's like, oh, you can bring value to my audience. I'm happy when you bring, value to my audience. But I also say it's about the relationships. I've had, there's a lot of because of my podcast stories that happen. Well, I interviewed somebody and they knew somebody who did the thing, and that knew, the networking part of guesting is what I've always said is the biggest thing. People are like, well, they didn't even share the show. I'm like, yeah, but don't make that the last time you talk to that person. So what say you, Chris Stone, when it comes to podcast guesting?
Podcast guesting is dead. No, it's not. Bad podcast guesting or marketers that have ruined it. Hopefully that will soon die out. And I think just like anything that marketers ruin, and I say that because I'm a marketer, so I can go ahead and say that, is, people thought that, hey, when I release a book, I'm going to go on a podcast guesting tour. And and somewhere along the lines, people were like, oh my gosh, this really grew my audience, or this really, and it may have worked for you, or have worked for a few people. And everybody thinks, well, I can just do what that person did and that will work for me. And we all know that, how that works. Like this person said that if I guest on 78 shows in a month, then I'm going to, it doesn't work that way. And I think being tactical and smart about it, if you're someone that has a podcast, guesting on other people's shows, but the right shows, but like Dave, what you're talking about is and not just I'm going on this person's show so I can poach their audience, but I'm going
Right.
on this person's show and go in with I'm providing value to that person's audience, do some research, and sending a pitch to that show with just a cold email and starting off with, I hope this finds you well. I listened to your latest episode and really loved how it sounds. No, you gotta, if you really want to be on that show and really provide value for that show and really sort of get something out of it, you got to be tactical about it. Find a different way rather than a cold email. Like, think about it and go, well, I really want to be on the School of Podcasting. And so, like, if I'm going to contact Dave Jackson, how am I going to contact Dave Jackson? Right. And how am I going to provide value to the School of Podcasting? And how is Dave, why would Dave have me on the show? Why would he? Right. There's 100 people, or more in front of, like, and I just don't think, people are just sitting back. They're hiring companies, quote unquote PR agencies that are trying to get you on these podcasts, and you're letting them do it for you. Chances are they're not representing you well. And I think being tactical about it and being more targeted to the people you want to serve is the right way to do it. Otherwise, you're losing all kinds of trust when you're just firing out these blanket pitch slaps, as Dave's saying. But no, podcast guesting is not dead. I think the people that are doing it the wrong way and are just, doing it from the easy button or using, programs like Podmatch or, the wrong way, which we all, those of us who use Podmatch, we get multiple pitches, in there. They're not doing it the right way. They're using AI to write everything. And you could tell because it's littered with M dashes and delving and game changing and it has the same format and all of that. And everybody can smell that a mile away, man. You've got pitch breath and you just are, you're not doing it the right way. Well, you got to be tactical.
I'm going to leave this person's name out. I was going to share my screen and it dawned on me, you put his phone number at the end of this. So I don't want to dock him or whatever that, is that the right phrase?
I feel very uncomfortable hearing it, let alone saying it. So
okay, there you go.
I don't know what it is.
He says, I'm so-and-so, founder of this company, the fastest growing supplement brand in the world. Because, I talk about supplements all the time.
Yes,
I just watched some pieces of a few of your episodes, which is interesting. Solid stuff. Notice no details.
Nope.
Right? You're sharp. You ask great questions, but I'd love to be a guest on your podcast. If you're looking for awesome people to interview, I think we could crush it together. So realize he could send that line to anybody's show. I've been on several. And has. I've been on several podcasts like Right About Now and with Ryan Alford and Entrepreneurs on Fire with John Lee Dumas. Here's one of the podcasts I was on if you want to check me out with a link. Plus, we have over 2 million customers on our email list, over 110,000 followers on YouTube, and another 100,000 plus on other social channels. So on top of being bringing awesome content to the show, again, not really saying what that would be, we'll bring you tons more eyeballs and ears as well. Let's make it happen. So-and-so, here's my phone number, etc. So notice, what is that all about? Him. All about him. Look at me. I'm great. You should hire me on and I'm going to bring a big audience to you. Not like, hey, again, he didn't say
nothing special about it. He's not saying what he's going to do for you.
Yeah. So I set that aside. I'm like, that might be podcast pitch slap. Like number one, just because it's just the epitome of like, this is exactly what I'm saying not to do. But if he had said, hey, Dave, I saw where you talked about SEO on episode 428 and you haven't talked about it in a while. Would you be interested in revisiting this episode? Here are some topics that your audience might like. Podcast SEO, is it different than regular SEO? Blah, 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 blah. And then when you actually like, hey, here's an episode in a box, and all you got to do is say yes.
Just add Dave.
Just add Dave, and you've got an episode. And one of the things I want to do as a guest, I wish I could give credit to who said this because it's a great idea. But if I decide I'm going on your show, I'm going to work with you to like, hey, what does your audience really need? because my goal is to get people on my email address. So I'm going to deliver value. You're going to deliver emails to me maybe, and maybe make a specific cheat sheet for that show. Like, now that's extra work, but if my goal is email addresses, like, let's work together. And it maybe even with this person, like, hey, if you help me promote this, any email addresses I get from this, I'll share with you. You know, something like that, to where I'm like, I really want to put this guest into turbo and, you know, help me get whatever it is I'm trying to get. But yeah, I don't think it's dead by any means. I just think it's that people, especially with AI, I saw, I got contacted on Reddit, and there was some new service, and even their demo video is Kyle and Sheila from Google Notebook, explaining
Notebook LM,
explaining the AI service that, once again, you don't have to do anything; it does it all. And I heard somebody, I'm not anti-AI, but somebody explained. They said, look, if AI is trained on the best things on the internet, but it's also trained on the worst, so you're maybe, if you don't know how to prompt, gonna get things that are very average. And not that they're bad, they're just not amazing. And I was like, that's probably a good way of describing it. But you've got to learn how to do all the I did a thing this week where I said, I'm writing an article on this. Ask me up to 10 questions about stories or insights that you might need to make this a personalized piece of equipment. And it did. Now, in the end, it took me about an hour to type the stuff so that it could then take my stuff and make it into this nice thing, to which I then had to edit anyway, to which I went, you know, I could have just probably typed this up myself. But it was interesting, to say the least. So.
Well, Dave, I think it's a great point when you bring in AI, and we talk about this, and I did a show earlier this week. We talked about this specifically as it relates to AI. What we forget is that 2 years ago, it took us 2 hours to do what now takes 20 minutes with AI, right? So now you got an hour and 40 minutes. What are you doing with it, right? Why not take an extra 10 minutes and say, how can I be more tactical with this? I have a framework for a pitch, or I have a framework for a podcast outline. Instead of just taking that and saying, yep, I'm done. Now I'm off to, doom scroll, or I'm off to do something else, or I'm off to create a thumbnail or whatever. Okay. Wow, this is incredible. That used to take me an hour. Okay, you just got a bonus, right? Okay, now I have time. Now I'm going to insert myself, because what you're getting is what somebody else can do easily too. So what are you doing to add yourself as a human to be even better with what you're given? And it could be reprompting. It could be, make this better, make this succinct. It could be that kind of stuff, right? Make this better. Don't take the first thing that you're getting. Look, how can I, because everybody has this stuff, man. Everybody's got, let's bolt Suno onto this. Let's bolt VO3. Now I've got Claude version 17.88 or whatever. It's like, yeah, so does everyone else. So take this, create great prompts, for yourself, but also then insert yourself, be more, human, and be you, and look at it and go, oh yeah, maybe I wouldn't type that with an M dash. I probably wouldn't say it that way. I would say it this way. And we got to do that. And we don't realize, oh man, that just takes more time. Dude, you just got a bonus hour and 40 minutes, from the way it was. You're not missing out on anything. Make it a little bit better. And I love this, this thing in the chat from Dan Lefebvre. Yeah. He says, I do a lot of cold pitches, and it usually works really well for me because I research who the perfect guest would be before pitching them. That's huge.
Yes.
And that's what nobody else is doing. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody else. Most people aren't.
Yeah. Todd the Gator says, my guests are coming from my community 95% of the time, so it helps it get stronger. Yeah. But for advertising and corporate pods, maybe not. But Chris from Podtastic Audio, I get email pitches sent to me, but meant for my client's show. I reply with thanks, let me pass this along to them, and then delete it. Yeah. Jeff C., cold pitches never work for me. It's usually people I know. Yep, the same for me. Or I've met at a conference. The people who ask to be on my show are generally not the people whom I want on my show. And if I accept somebody that I kind of don't know, I usually say this, and it kind of takes a little bit of courage. I'll go, hey, because we've never really, like, I don't really know you. It sounds like a good fit, but I just want to let you know I reserve the right to not publish this if I feel it doesn't deliver a ton of value. And I've only had one person say, how dare you? Everybody else was like, no, that's cool. I totally get it. And I'm like, okay. And then at the end, they'll be like, did that deliver value? And I'm like, yeah, actually it did. And if it didn't, it'd be like, I'll keep it in case I need an episode. But yeah. And then Todd says, grow the show has targeted his content to more corporate clients lately. He's always been that way. And Kevin's a good guy, by the way. I've had him on my show. And what he does, he has a great, and I think he talks about his editing service as a third-party service. In the early days, he had an editing team, and it was great. He would say, hey, buy this package. It was like $7,000, but that paid, you also got like 3 months worth of free editing. So it wasn't really free editing. And then after 3 months, now that you're hooked on your workflow in using a team, it'd be like, oh, now you need to start paying us to edit your show. And I was like, that's kind of brilliant. So I know he talks now, I forget the name of the company, but I wonder if that company isn't his. I don't know. But it was an interesting business strategy of get them hooked on editing and then charge them for it later. And I was like, that's kind of good. Because that's when he says I made a lot of money with his show, he made a lot of money, not so much with advertising, but through products and services, which is where most people make their money. And besides, if you need an editor, you just go to castahead.net. That's what Chris does. Yeah, there you go. The other thing we should talk about before we get into more Christmas music shenanigans, and I just realized I don't think I've rewound this. I have not. Or maybe I did. Yes, I did. Our awesome supporters. And hey, here's a fun one. This is great. Remember how I said, it's weird we're not getting any new supporters. If you're saying, I'm not getting any good feedback, or this thing that I want to happen isn't happening, go put your shoes on and walk in the shoes of your audience. And I went over and I went to my awesome, askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome and clicked on the Supercast link, and it went, and I was like, huh? Yeah, that sad trombone. And that has been fixed, but that's why probably nobody was signing up, is because none of the buttons worked. There was something, I had an extra comma or something, and I swear it worked at one point. So they might have changed something on their back end or something, but I was like, well, that would explain why we haven't had a new awesome supporter in a while. That has been fixed. So if you go to askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome, you can now be an awesome supporter. And of course, when you sign up, we give you a big shout out. And I'm using my keyboard and it's not advancing the slides. Yay! So there we go. And you could be awesome like these people on the screen. And I have redone that. So thanks to everybody that's on the slide right now. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, it's great people like Bourbon Barrel Podcasting down in Kentucky, and the Flame Alive Pod, who is probably getting all excited because they're doing, I think the Olympic Flame is going through cities now, and the Resourceful Designer, and, all sorts of voiceovers and vocals. That's Jody's show again. Yeah. And so thanks to all those people. And the show is brought to you by the School of Podcasting, where you get courses, coaching, and community. And that's going through a little bit of a revamp, couple things that I'm doing with videos and such. We also now have listener parties. So if not just, hey, Dave, can you listen to this? We get together and listen to your podcast live so you can watch us listen to your show. Because if I'm supposed to be laughing now and I'm not, you could kind of tell. But you can use the coupon code COACH when you sign up, and that comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And if you don't want a podcast membership but you need some feedback, go over to podcasthotseat.com, where you get honest, constructive feedback. And that's right now we have a Black Friday going on through the end of the year. That includes a month at the School of Podcasting. And when you look at askthepodcastcoach.com, that is using Podpage. If you want to try Podpage, you can go over to trypodpage.com. And it's so weird. There we go. And if you're like, hey, Chris is cool, but I really miss Jim Collison, then just go over to theaverageguy.tv. And speaking of that, if you're like, hey, I like this Chris guy, again, go over to, castahead.net and, that thing right there. That screen, different.
That's not Castahead.
Wait, here we go. Let's do this one. There we go. Castahead.net.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that
yes.
one.
So Dave only fixed one scene last night. That was well done. You could do that. This is so frustrating. There we go. It's time for the Wheel O Names. Now, if you're not familiar with this, this is where this is for our $20 supporters, and we come over here. We look at some really bizarre ads from our good friend at wheelofnames.com. And could it be Craig? Craig, it turns out, has won 2 weeks in a row. So if he wins this week, we know he's actually, Satan or something. I don't know what's going on. But there it is, castahead.net right there on the wheel.
I can't win, though. I'm not eligible this week.
That'd be it. So we'll spin the one.
Too much Chris.
And it's going to be you now. It could be. It's close. It's on.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
There you go.
Okay, spin it again.
Spin it again. The one. So again, castahead.net. You don't want to be the featured supporter, my friend. You're already. I've
been featured enough.
All right, we'll do one more. Jody's due. Jody has not been the featured supporter in a while, and it's going to be just barely. Shane from Spybrary.com. If you like, and we're not talking like he'll talk James Bond, but we're talking like real spy stuff. He was on the one of the BBC 4 or 2 or 1 or whatever, because he's like a spy. Like he's considered an expert in spydom, if that's even a word. I think I just made it up. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. And if you want to be an awesome supporter, it's super simple. Again, you can simply go to askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome and go, those guys save us time and money, and they even maybe even entertained you this week. Well, askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome. So thank you for all those people. The Wheel of Names is always a blast.
It is so satisfying, and I felt like the winner. I should have done the spy theme. Is it Spy Hunter or whatever? Dun 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 dun. Or isn't that Mission Impossible? I don't know. Whatever. That sounds like a spy theme.
Yes. James Bond is
not a Christmas song.
No, not a Christmas.
Just for clarification, not a Christmas song.
Yeah. But the any other, let me see here, speaking of that. Yeah. Uncle Marv says, it's rigged. It's totally rigged. Yeah.
Sorry, Uncle Marv, I had to, man.
And Jody says, hey, I like this Chris guy. Yeah. And Randy says, anybody notice Ralph is on the list twice? That is, I hit shuffle. And Ralph he actually is a dual supporter. He's paid $20 twice to, and if you want to see Ralph, that's it. He's like, I'll take over that wheel. And we always give you a big shout out, even if if you sign up for as low as $5, you'll get a big shout out. Somebody said, do you have a $1 subscription? And it's weird because I did, and I still have people paying me $1, but by the time you take out, Patreon's 10% and another 3% for this, and you're like, wow, I got 38 cents. And I was like, nah.
So if somebody gives you $1, do you make their spot on the wheel like a little sliver?
No,
so you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, no, the $1 is you get my infinite gratitude. $5 is you get a big shout out the first time you sign up, and then you get access. Like today from 1 to 2:30. I'll be sending out a thing later today that says, hey, we're doing kind of just a group hangout. We do that the first Saturday of the month. So you get part of that. $10 gets you on the website. So when you go to askthepodcastcoach.com/awesome, there's a link to your website. And then $20, holy cow, for your thanks, you are on the Wheel O Names. So that's That's it. And for the record, the more you add, the more kind of a hassle it becomes. So be careful with like, oh, I'm going to have 13 different varieties of, if you give me 1750, you get the sticker and, it's like, yeah. So it's like, I can roll that right into a question. Somebody was talking about bleed from the, if you have multiple people on your show. And that's one of those where, if I bring this up, here we go. He says, he must have written this during the evening. He says, evening podcast community. Can you see that, Chris, by the way? I know it's still kind of small.
It's pretty small, but
yeah. Yeah. He says, I'd like to lend a hand with a technical issue I'm trying to resolve regarding a podcast I'm launching for my workplace. So that's part of the fun. It's not like he's got to do it in this place. He's got some experience with recording audio. He says, the issue I'm facing is whether or not I should record multi-track. Well, the answer to that one is yes. Always when you can, record multi-track. He goes, I'm recording my office, which is a spacious room, but located in an old building where I don't have access to the thermostat, which is no fun. So he has to occasionally work around the heating noise. My trailer episode was not recorded with multi-track and only had 2 people. After using a nose gate, that's we're back to the trimmers again. A noise gate, the audio sounded great, no issues. I just recorded our first full episode today using multi-track with 4 guests. And he goes, after trying the noise gate on each file, I still ended up with some echoes caught on each of the person's mics, meaning when someone was talking, I could still hear them a bit on the other mics who are not speaking. Obviously, it wasn't the same level, but it was enough to make it a pain. I edited out all the mics that weren't silent when someone was speaking and creatively edited a few together when people were talking over one another. What would you have? What would happen to have? Would you happen to have? Okay, so Dave can't read. We've come to that conclusion. Basically, he wants to know, would you not record in multi-track or should I stay multi-track? And to which my first question was, do you need 4 guests? Like the more you add, the room doesn't change. So the more people you add, the closer they're going to be together. And what I would do is I would use the Rodecaster or something that has a built-in noise gate. Now that's kind of iffy because if you record with the noise gate and it's a little too aggressive, you can't go back and fix it. Whereas if you do it in post, you can. But I know I did I used to do a show with my ex-wife, and we're in my little itty-bitty office in Cleveland, and she was in one corner and I was in the other where both our mics were not pointing at each other. And I would sit in my office and I would smash my headphones into my head and go, and I would just listen to her channel. I'm like, I can still hear me. And then it dawned on me that people do not sit in a quiet office smashing their headphones into their head listening to a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, nobody's going to notice this. But do you, I know you edit for people and things like that. Yeah. Any insights into bleed and getting rid of this stuff?
Yeah. This is becoming more of a problem as video becomes more prominent with multiple guests in the same room. So I don't know if this person had if they're doing video or not, because you got to treat the room that you're in. And it sounded like they're dealing with fan noise or heat noise and some other things. If you're not using video, you have the opportunity to, it doesn't need to look amazing, right? It needs to sound amazing, right? So just grab some moving blankets, grab some fluffy stuff, fill the room up, right? Make it smaller. Do you really need to be in a big cacophonous room where your voice is bouncing off the glass and the floor that may not have carpeting and all of those things, like sound, like the original sound of what you're putting into that microphone? That's the most important thing. And having to treat that stuff in post, like it sounds like this person is it's driving them nuts. Like on the front end, do as much as you can. Now, if they're in a video setting, you're not, it doesn't look great to have a bunch of moving blankets around you and fluffy stuff. And, you want it to look all cool with a nice plant and like all of the, like a big TV screen behind you and all of that stuff, right? Because I'm on video and I got to look like, Conan O'Brien needs a friend or whatever. And so when you're doing that kind of stuff, what microphone are you using? Are you using dynamic microphones with great rear rejection, right? And to Dave's point, like, what kind of mic technique are you using? Are you pointing things away? Are you testing? Are you recording? Are you listening back to all of that kind of stuff? You can treat the ceiling that you're in if it's out of the shot, like you get a moving blanket and you hang it with strings, and like all that kind of stuff. It matters. It matters more for your video than anything. Like, not just how nice you look and your placement and your lighting and all that stuff. Your audio is the absolute most important thing, because people will put up with a thumbprint on the lens or your camera kind of flickering every once in a while. But man, if you've got like an echo chamber going on, they're gone, man. There's nobody that's gonna stick around for that stuff. So what I've always taught people to do is, start with good microphones that have, dynamic microphones that have good rear rejection. Get the mic off of the desk onto a boom arm. Treat the table that you're on. If you can get screens away from you, like your voice is going to reflect and bounce off of everything. Treat everything as possible that's out of the shot, out of the video shot. But man, if there's no video, man, treat the snot out of that room, man. Make it small, put, grab couches, like whatever you can to fill that room up so that it's smaller and you're not showing up, and it sounds like you're in this huge cacophonous thing. Now, from a post perspective, which I have to end up doing a lot of the times, because people, either they don't listen, or sometimes a guest shows up and it's like, oh great, they're showing up in a conference room with a bunch of glass, and you're going to have that stuff. Auphonic is a great post thing to use, where you can just upload it, and there's settings for noise reduction, and so Randy's on point there. There are plugins that I use. I'm a Mac user, so PC user. Sorry, there's a plugin called D-Room from a company called Accentize.
I love D-Room.
D-Room does a great job. They also have another plugin that I use called D-Revive. And D-Revive. And then there's another plugin from a company called Supertone, and I don't know if this is Mac only or not, but Supertone makes a plugin called Clear. And what Clear does is it takes the noise outside of the voice, and you remove all of that as well. Sometimes that works better than D-Room, Dave, is Clear by Supertone.
Interesting. Yeah, Ralph says I put up scaffolding around my studio, and I have moving blankets having all around, and it works great. Yep, that's always fun. Craig Van Slyke, I put a blanket on the wall in front of me, and I have a rolling garment rack with a couple of thick blankets. Yep, hung it over.
Awesome.
To roll out behind me. Yep, it's I know somebody just they basically had their chair under a ladder, and they put a sleeping bag over the ladder to kind of make this little room. And I'm like, hey, it works, So, Uncle Marv, I have moving blankets behind theater curtains, behind a bookshelf for my video shows. People only see the bookcase. Yeah, what are you? Is that what do you have, Kristen? It looks like
this.
I just grabbed a bulletin board. Yeah.
So, do you recognize the album cover here? Well, it kind of says what it is.
I know it's Miles Davis.
Brewed by Miles Davis. So you can get these canvases made custom at Amazon. Dave, I can provide you the link, and you can create a affiliate link afterwards. But it's basically you give them the JPEG or PNG file or whatever, and then they'll create these wooden frames, and it's made of canvas. And I have them for all shows, and I make them for clients as well. And then there's this space that's in here between. That I fill with insulation, which with soundproof insulation that you can buy called rock wool. That's available at your whatever Lowe's, Home Depot, or whatever. Went and bought a bunch of cheap fabric from the fabric store, and just
a staple gun
here.
Yeah.
And so these become like really affordable, also great for branding things to hang up that become functional for your podcast studio. And like if I'm in a room and I put these outside of the shot. So, you could tell the difference if I'm speaking into it like this And if I go like this, all of a sudden it gets, there's a slight difference. Although this isn't really great for video, is it, Dave?
Here's the back of Chris's, that's always fun. Yeah, because unfortunately we're all talking, at least I'm talking into two giant pieces of glass. It's like I got two monitors right here. So what happens is my voice bounces off those and goes to the back. Now you can't tell, but behind me, it looks like a sleeping bag. If I were to point my camera up at the top, up here, it says School of Podcasting. And that's from a company called I can never pronounce it. It's audimute.com. And they make these things custom. They're not cheap, but they're in Cleveland. And here again,
Cleveland.
Well, here again, podcasts lead to relationships, which lead to opportunities. And so I got to tour their factory, and they're like, yeah. And the next thing I know, they're like, hey, we made some sound baffles for you. And they're like, all we ask is that if somebody goes, hey, where'd you get that? I'll go, oh, it's from Audimute. And so, so it's that can definitely help. I know when I first moved into this house, there was no carpet and there were no curtains. And I was like, oh, and you do one of these, and it's just a really loud smack. And I was like, this needs some work. So I immediately put down carpet through the whole house, really, and got some super thick curtains for the windows so I can kind of control the light in here. And then it's just a matter of like, this is as good as it's going to. I got a bookcase behind me because bookcases are kind of good for deflecting audio in weird directions. And at that point, I'm like, okay, this is about as good as it's going to get. And from here, it's like you said, I'll try clear, but I use D-Room a little. Because again, like, especially for this show, because I'm doing so much, I'm not really as close to my mic as I should be. So,
but
and
again, I think
this is,
I think people overdo it sometimes. You can overdo the D-Room as well. It gets almost like, have you ever watched a video and somebody has it's like an anechoic chamber. And there's zero echo at all. I think a little room noise is fine. It's going to be, and I think to your point, like, how many people are really hearing that mic bleed? You could just adjust it a little bit. And if you have a video component to what you're doing, I think you need a little room noise, because it doesn't look and sound natural at the same time. Sometimes if somebody is just so like there's zero room noise, it's almost like if you and I were constantly had eye contact the entire time, I think people would need to look away after a while. It's like, why is Dave and Chris staring into my soul? Like, we could just overdo it too much on this stuff. We gotta somewhere along the line, we gotta go, okay, this is good enough to move on. Like, this is not annoying anyone. This is fine. This is good. Right. I'm not going to spend 16 hours, de-rooming this when no one but myself is going to be hearing it.
Well, you can really waste a lot of time. By the way, Rockwool, made in my hometown. That would be somewhere in Alabama. That's Mark Lawley.
Nice.
And I know people obsess over breathing in podcasts and and it's like, take out the easy stuff, but again, a lot of times we hear these things because we're in a quiet room smashing our headphones and going, I think I hear a little bit of bleed. And you're like,
I'm crushing your head.
I squish your head. And then I always say, take that recording, somehow get it into your car and drive around and listen to it, or listen to it. Mm-hmm. One of the things I love about Overcast, Pocket Cast, and Podurama, which is just fun to say, all three of those apps have a way that you can upload files to their software, and then you pull it up on your phone, and the file you just uploaded you can listen to. So you can listen to your show via earbuds or whatever you normally do. To me, this is how my audience listens, and so I can listen to it beforehand. And that's where a lot of times I will notice, anytime I ever do some sort of countdown show, I have Mike Russell from Music Radio Creative going, number 5. And for whatever reason, when I bring that into Hindenburg, because it's Mike Russell and it's a super solid recording, it always makes it a little too soft. And there are times when I'll be going through and then all of a sudden it'll be like number 5. And then the next one's like number 6. And I'm like, oh, wait. And so I'll catch that kind of stuff because I didn't, maybe I'm listening through my computer speakers. It wasn't quite as noticeable, but all of a sudden it'll be like, I need to go back and drag number 6 up a little bit in Hindenburg and get it all set. So, but yeah, so Ralph, hopefully you got your sound back to where you want it to be. We do have Ralph today from 1 to 2:30. We've got office hours at the School of Podcasting, and for the awesome supporters of Ask the Podcast Coach. So if you want to play with that some more, we can. But it is one of those things where you can drive yourself absolutely crazy. And also, I bought 3 microphones back in the day of trying to sound like Scott. Anyway, Scott Fletcher, who also invented the word podfade. And I wanted to sound like Scott Fletcher. And he had this AKG microphone that was a condenser mic that I soon learned is not a good mic to have if you're in a noisy basement. But I wanted to sound like him, so I bought his microphone, and I went, "Oh, yeah, I'm not going to sound like Scott because he's Scott and I'm Dave." And you try to make yourself sound as good as you can, and at that point you go, "And we're done." Check. Now let's go back to making amazing content and that whole 9 yards. So. But if you want amazing content, we've mentioned castahead.net. Chris also does the Dealcaster show. Where can people find Dealcasters?
You can go to podpage.com/Dealcasters for all things Dealcasters. We just did 2 different streams for the holiday because our friends at Shure, I should be talking into a Shure microphone right now, but apparently I'm not. Okay, I'm going to pull this into the shot. Our friends at Shure, who make this Shure SM7B, amongst other content, are doing a bunch of holiday specials, and that includes everything from their Move Mic series to a bunch of great stuff. We love their content. It's the only reason why we did it, because we love their products. And so that's at podpage.com/Dealcasters. And if you're someone who doesn't like to do all of the stuff that it takes to do a podcast, you just want to show up, fire up your camera and your microphone, and have somebody else produce the entire thing, including making clips to sprinkle all over the interwebs, we're at castahead.net, not at homegadgetgeeks.com.
No.
Although you should go to homegadgetgeeks.com because Jim Cullison is awesome. Even though he's not here, you got it. Yeah.
Yes. Note to self. Yeah. If you ever see cool clips on my channel and think, "Wow, Dave's really good at that," that's not Dave at all. That's that guy right there. That guy right there. There we go. That's doing that. Castahead.net is where you can find Chris's stuff. On the School of Podcasting, I haven't made up my mind yet. It's either going to be an episode about how podcasting leads to relationships, which leads to opportunities, because I've interviewed a few people that have those, or what to do with content after you've done your survey, because I realized I asked my audience to answer a survey and never told them their results, and I feel like that's kind of rude. So that might be here's what I got, and here's what do you do with it. But Jim will be back next week. Chris, thank you so much. And we're always here at AskThePodcastCoach.com.
Like, subscribe, all that stuff.
We're out of music. Oh, no, you can't do this without music.
Let's go.
No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. We'll start the show again. All right, guys. We'll see y'all later. And if you're an awesome supporter, I'll see you at 1 o'clock. We'll see you. Take care.